take it to a different level. We are going to, as I mentioned the last time when I was here, we are going to tap into that tremendous resource that we call ocean. It's a gold mine, but we have not been prospecting, and we'll be prospecting, because we saw how, when Four Seasons came, the tremendous imports from Miami, because we couldn't supply it. And now with a new hotel, we are going to provide all of that. There'll be employment. I would swear that there'll be a lot more people migrating to Nevis because there will be work. Now, when I look at the current government, and I go back to 2007, and all the glorious things that they said during their campaign, I really thought that what I am planning is what they would have done. But what have they done? Maintain status quo. I am not interested in maintaining status quo. I am interested in growing this economy, employing people, and have a lot of cash circulating. And that's what the MRM is going to do when we win this government. And I'm confident, based on the responses that we have been getting out there, that we are well and truly on the road. At this point, Webbo, I like to stop here. I'll probably come back, but we have our new candidate in tonight. And so I'm going to turn it over to her for St. James, Patricia Jeffers. Patricia Jeffers and I have been good friends over the years, and a few years ago we started to talk about this, and my goodness, it's a delight, an absolute delight to see that it has become a reality. And so I'm going to turn it over to her now, and she'll introduce herself and tell the people a bit about her and her vision for Nevis, and then I'll come right back. Thank you, Webbo.
Pat, good evening and welcome to Vaughan Radio, the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse. Is it your first time here?
It is, Mr. Herbert.
And so it's so good to have you. You listen though.
I'm sorry?
You listen though.
Yes,
it might be the first time in studio.
Every day.
Just one.
Every day. It's only the best we'll do, you know.
Oh, there you go. And I hope that's part of why you're here as well.
Yes.
You chose us to. Okay.
Of course.
Now, as I said, it's good to have you. It's good to have you here at the studios. You were telling me that you were at the opening.
Yes,
and
I was.
And you had a light moment as well, right?
Yes, with my shoe heel because it was raining a lot. And I actually lost my new brand pair of shoes that I just bought. But anyway, it was for good. Because look, it's still standing and I'm here.
Yes, and you and your lovely shoes. And everybody has a story concerning
yes.
here. And again, it's good to have you. So we begin, as your Mr. Kane said, by not everybody knows you. Almost everybody do, but not everybody does.
Right.
So you let us know who you are, and then we get right into it.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure. Well, good night, Mr. Herbert, again, and thanks for the invitation to Vaughan Radio, and good evening to the listening audience at home and in the diaspora. We have
let me just say, Pat,
yes?
Just here to our people who are viewing us, we have a problem with our Facebook, but you can go to our YouTube channel. Okay, so if you're listening and you wanted to do the stream, the video stream, we do have a problem this evening with our Facebook. However, you can go to the YouTube channel at Vaughan Radio and you will get the video stream. Okay, Pat, go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, for those of you who don't know me, my name, actually I was born Avenel Patricia Mills Jeffers by marriage. And my parents were Neville and Georgina Annie Mills of the tiny village of Barnaby in the St. James Parish. And maybe some of you don't know where Barnaby is actually a small little village between Libert Hill and the Potworks area where the medical school is. That's where I was bred and raised. My dad was a fisherman and a shipwright, and my mom was a homemaker, and as a matter of fact she was one of Nevis's cultural icon. Most people know her as Annie Mills. And I was fortunate to have those two people as my parents. I'm from a large family, 14 siblings. I'm actually number 8 in the run-ins. And I attended the Combermere Primary School and went on to the Charleston Secondary School. I was part of, or in fact, I was a product of the class of 1979. And after school, I went to work at the government treasury, and then later on went into the hospitality industry, where I worked for over 30 years. And 2 of my main stint was at the Four Seasons, one at the Four Seasons, and the other at Kittyshon Hill, where I was the reservations manager at both companies. And those years that I spent there were very rewarding. As a matter of fact, they helped to mold me to what I am today. I was glad for the experience, and I have, developed a lot of capabilities and responsibilities based on those 2 companies, training and all that I got from them. Well, I think someone will ask, or people would ask, well, why politics now? Well, my answer to that would be twofold. One, as a little girl growing up and listening to my mom talking politics and my parents on a whole, I decided that one day maybe I can serve at the highest level. And I developed more interests like in 4th form and 5th form, where I used to listen keenly to the debates that was happening on St. Kitts with the PAM and Labour and NRP government. And as a matter of fact, over the years, I've been asked as early as 1994 to run for a particular party on Nevis. But then I had a young family, and my husband said to me, well, I think you should concentrate on the boys. So I did. And Webbo, I think from that, every election I was approached, but I don't think that the time was right, but I think it is right now. And that's why I'm throwing in my towel to represent St. James in the next local election.
Patricia Jeffers, the candidate for the Morals Restoration Movement of Samuel Keynes. So this will be candidate number 2 for that party. Mr. Keynes, a couple of weeks ago, had indicated that he will be running in the St. John's district, and that's the incumbent is the Honorable Premier Mr. Brantley. And it's interesting, Mrs. Jeffers will be running in St. James. The incumbent there is the Deputy Premier, the Honorable Mr. Alexis Jeffers. So that's just some background understanding. And then you have the Nevis Reformation Party. Mr. Keynes, you keep saying, by way of information, you keep saying a third party, your party number 4. I can't get you to get accustomed to that. Right?
Can you tell us about that 4th party, Webbo?
Well, we will hear about it. Well, the 4th party is the People's Democratic Alliance.
Oh, okay.
And one of your, as far as I know, your friends is the CEO or the president of that party or something. They launched here about a year or 2 ago, and they made me a solemn promise that come following the next Nevis Island Assembly elections, which was due in 2022, they will be at the helm of government on Nevis. Now, they haven't told me anything differently since. Right?
Yep.
And you have told me certain things the first time around, And until you tell me otherwise, a man is as good as his word, right?
All right, fair enough.
So that is why I say 4.
Okay,
Now you got it?
I got it.
You're
So
not-
we actually the 4th party. They are the 3rd.
Yes.
So we're the 4th. Okay, I accept that.
Right. So you know who is PDA now?
Right.
You know whom of what I speak.
Yes, absolutely.
Why do you
That's-
think-
that's our ex-classmate?
Your ex-classmate. But this might be a light moment, but he is a lot of farmer these days. So he's your former classmate. It's just a light moment. Okay, so we have done that. And so, Patricia, you're going to be running in St. James, Patricia Jeffers.
Yes.
And also maybe, I don't know, I probably would want to mention, you had mentioned that your husband at that time, your
Yes.
late husband, who had suggested to you maybe we should concentrate on the boys.
Yes.
And the persons on Nevis would know, but other persons abroad may not make the connection. You know a fellow they call Speedy?
I think so.
Okay.
I think that's my second son.
Okay, so there you go. He is a popular fella, international good calypsonian.
Like his dad.
Like his dad. So that's why I wanted, that's why I brought that up, to go back to him. And you know that he was not only a friend of Von Wade, he was
Yes.
my brother as well.
I know.
So, right, so
Because you're celebrate on the same
on
day.
the same day, and
Yes.
and Noel, you know, the
Yes.
commander-in-chief. So those fellas left me to hold strain.
Yeah, and I was wondering the other day, I thought of it, and I said, I was wondering if Webbo got scared when both of them left us.
No, we had some work to do. They did their part, and they
Yes.
said to me, carry on.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm not worried. I do my part. Right, so I
Okay.
carry on. Okay, so you're in the political arena now.
Yes.
You have indicated that you are not really new to politics because you've been following it for years, and you have been approached many a time. But this will be your first go around at this level,
Right.
entering into the race. So it's obvious, therefore, that you were always involved, supporting a political party,
Yes.
maybe doing, because a lot of people do canvassing and so on and so forth. You've been involved in that sort of level.
Yes, to a certain extent. Yes.
So you,
I was with the NRP. I had supported, in fact, my whole family had supported the NRP over the years. And, but then, you know, as Sam had said, we discussed this idea of a new party a few years ago. And we now decided to, you know, come out and make it public. But my family and I had supported NRP.
but just making that point, and you know, one of the first things people are going to ask you, the logical question is, so then why didn't you continue or be a candidate for the NRP, since you have supported them for a number of years along with your family, and you had canvassed for them and
Right.
stuff like that? The logical thing people would think is then you decide now to take the giant step. So why not with the NRP?
Well, it's simple, Webbo. As I said, I've been with the NLP over the years, and I've canvassed and I have observed along the line how, you know, the party has been run. And, you know, in my observance, I realized that I didn't see the togetherness within the party. And I had a sense of discomfort, so to speak, in joining or running for that party because of the fact that from, you know, as I said, I didn't see the togetherness, and I didn't want to be part of something that is not going to work or maybe disintegrate at some point in time. And that was my decision to go with a new party who doesn't have any quote unquote baggage, so to speak, that we would start afresh and everything would be new, so to speak.
But the current NRP argues that they're doing just that.
Okay.
You would agree with that? That
Yes.
So even as they argue or present that argument to you, you don't buy that?
No. And I've had my personal experiences. That's why I made that decision not to run on their ticket.
Because they basically have almost new candidates.
Yes, I know that.
Right. So,
Yes.
so you're not convinced?
I feel personally that yes, they have new candidates, but there are some people in the background that who I don't feel, actually, I'm going to be frank, comfortable that they would be doing the right thing for this new group.
On that same point, Mr. Keynes, when Mr. Keynes was here, and he pointed out that obviously he has a new movement. A caller called in, you might have remembered Mr. Keynes, and perhaps the same accusation may be levied at you, Pat. Can I call it Pat?
Yes, of course.
And the accusation that the caller made to Mr. Keynes was that he is just a spoiler with an agenda to attack the current administration and not point out the shortcomings of the other party, so that as a consequence you split off the vote so that that party can lose, as the caller indicated in St. Kitts. And you're not in, and you right. So so the question is, to that allegation, you say what?
Well, I've heard that too. People have confronted me with that, to say, well, why are you stealing some of NRP votes or whatever, because you have a large family and blah, blah, blah. But my thing is, to each his own. I mean, if you don't feel comfortable in associating yourself with some people or what have you, or a party or what have you, you have to make that decision yourself. And, I feel that if I'm a part of a new party, then we have a new slate, we set new rules, and we set new guidelines as to the way forward.
Mr. Keynes, did I get the indication that you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Now, those persons who express that view, that's just their personal opinion about the spoiler. That's just their personal opinion. When I was here the last time, I said that I have observed the political culture in our country, St. Kitts Nevis, for the last 50 years. I've been following politics for the last 50 years. Sounds like I'm very old. But what we have seen is the winner take it all syndrome. I mentioned that. And when a party wins, it's as if they own the country. The country is for them and their supporters. Of course, we all get basic infrastructure. But if you examine it closely, and it doesn't even require a lot, it's clear to the eyes, it's clear to, even a blind man can see it, right? They look out for their supporters. I mean, the Premier made no bones about it on one of his Wednesday night shows right here, where he said, I have to look out for who takes Son with me, I have to look out for who take Drew with me. He was very candid about it, right? And it was not just verbal, it's demonstrated. We see it in action, we see it at play.
And
right?
So you don't agree with that?
No, I don't agree with that at all, because we are all taxpayers.
To look out for the persons who look out for you.
Well, you see what happened. If you say that, Webbo, look out for the persons who look out for you. If you say that in isolation, right? Then I would say, of course, why not? If I look out for you, why don't you look out for me in isolation? But if you start to relate it to the political field and the administration of a country.
But the truth is, though, that you're doing politics.
Yes.
So you have to speak in that way, no?
Well, you have to speak in that way, but it requires an explanation. You cannot make the statement in isolation and leave it there. You must go on and give an explanation, because there are those persons who are not interested in tooting the collar. There are those persons who are not interested in being out in the public, but they go out and they vote. And they want to know, for example, if they apply for a job in government, their political persuasion or their political affiliation must not be the determination. It must be their personality and their qualification. Right? But what we see happen often, right, with all the political parties is the qualification is their political persuasion. You know?
So,
I mean,
so
who you back? Who you back?
When persons vote for MRM and you get into power as a representative for St. John's and then the Premier, the persons who voted for you must not expect a leg up above anybody else.
Absolutely not. We're all we're all residents of this country. Whether you were born here or you were born abroad and a resident here, we're all residents of this country, paying taxes, and so therefore everybody should be treated on the same level. That's how I feel it should be. If somebody applies for a job, then you look at all the candidates, you look at their qualification, and their political persuasion must not be a factor.
Yeah, and if I may butt in here, Mr. Herbert, based on what Sam just said, yes, we're gonna level the play field with everyone, all residents. Yes, in hindsight, or in fact in the real world, some people may get some preferences above, but really it has been too blatant in certain instances that other, I mean, like for example, the opposition supporters have been turned away or what have you, are not given a fair deal, whether it be with jobs, contracts, or what have you. And I've heard stories where people cry out and say, well, this government only looking after the people and them kind of thing. And to be honest, Mr. Herbert, both political parties have been guilty of it to a certain extent.
To a great extent.
So, and I wanted to ask before we go on further, Mr. Keynes, Mrs. Jeffers had explained her rationale why she decided not to continue to support the Navy's Reformation Party, but join a new party, which is now MRM, because she felt that the ideas, the ideologies, the practices were consistent with what used to be. Did I have it correct?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I wanted to know whether or not you were in agreement with what Pat said.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with what she said, but when I actually pioneered the idea of forming the party, it was predominantly based on the fact that the political parties, the culture that existed was one where the political parties were engaged in too much tribalism and too much cronyism. You know, I have heard it many times. When people apply for positions in government, it's a case of who he back. You know, who he back, and for contracts and all of that. And I didn't like it, and I thought we need to get away from that, because you will not get a situation where everybody is going to be active politically, tooting the collar, shouting for a political party. They go out and they vote quietly, but at the same time they are citizens or residents of this country, and therefore should be treated equally.
Ms. Jeffers,
Yes.
when you're running for a position to be the representative,
Yes.
Normally the incumbent, whoever that person is, in this case the incumbent will be Mr. Jeffers, Alexis Jeffers,
Yes.
the Deputy Premier. The incumbent normally runs on their record.
Yes.
The challenger, if they were in that position before, perhaps can run on their past record. And however, if you have not been in that position before, elected before,
Right.
the challenger normally goes to their as you had mentioned, their work or their record in the private sector or wherever they served before, and if you will, their life record as a person in the community, and so on and so forth. In that regard, how would you present yourself in terms of what you have done, or what you will argue to the voters is your qualification that have you best suited for to be the representative?
Well, with regards to that, Mr. Herbert, I would say that apart from my career, or maybe I should mention part of that too, I have represented Nevis from a tourism standpoint in various countries, for example, like in Canada, in the US, and in England. And I've been with other government officials when we try to sell Nevis to the tourism public out there. In addition to that, I have been a part of my church's administration, so to speak. And I had served on the vestry at St. James's, and now I attend the St. George's Anglican Church, and I serve there too. I also was part of the AYPA, and we had done a lot of stuff in terms of community work during my time in our constituency. I have also taken up the mantle, I think this was 2006, in running an island garden competition when they had independence, around independence time of 2006. And I actually single-handedly funded that venture in terms of, you know, going to, you know, the various institutions and requesting funds for, you know, the various groups in the various villages to get, you know, like equipment like shovels and forks and all that and all that. And I think that was a success. And I would say that I think everybody in St. James, maybe those people who may have been born like the last maybe 10 or 15 years may not know me a lot, but I feel that I am closely knit to the people of St. James. They know me, they know my family, they know my parents, and I think they have a lot of respect for me, and I respect them a lot. And whenever there is something to rejoice about, I go and visit the family, and when there is something to be sympathetic about, I do that too. So they know I'm a very family-oriented person, and I'm a woman to my word.
You're probably a newcomer to running the
Yes.
election, but as you indicated, you're no newcomer or stranger to the politics per se.
Yes.
So you understand how it works.
Yes.
And I asked Mr. Keynes when he was here the last time, I'm going to ask you the question as well. What is your pathway to victory in St. James? For instance, in particular areas, you just mentioned, for instance, you're from a large family, and the political pundits will then start to maybe calculate you know, in that area. You said that you're from the village of Barnaby.
Right.
And then you have in St. James, you have Fountain, you have Newcastle, Butlers, Brickhill, Camps. Did I miss any?
Newcastle, you said?
Yes, I said
Yeah.
Newcastle. Right. Well, and the other Fountain.
Yeah.
Right. Now, what area would you say is your stronghold?
I would say Brickhill and Butlers. Yeah, and as I said, my village, the village that I'm from, is very small, and it's really like my family and one other family, there. But then I feel like Brick Hill, Butlers, and like Camps area.
Okay, Butlers, Camps area would be your strong area.
Yes.
So that when we're here, competition night, for instance,
Right.
and we're getting in the votes.
Yes.
And you know how that goes.
Of course.
And the pundits and the analysts are saying, well, here it is, Jeffers of the MRM, this area, this amount, and so on. So we can basically say, let's say that, just for argument's sake, let's say Newcastle came in, but you didn't do well there. The analyst can basically say, well, the stronghold of
Yes.
this Miss Jeffers, that box hasn't come in yet,
Yeah.
because Brick Hill is not in yet,
Right.
and Butlers is not in yet.
Right.
So those areas that basically can look for.
Okay.
So those will be your stronger areas. You think?
I feel, yeah.
Okay. Now to come back again to your deciding to run. And you deciding to run with the morals restoration movement. Obviously, you will have a disadvantage at your back, meaning you are starting out anew, and you would not have that particular base.
Right.
However, you have argued, or you have said, that you have been in politics before, and you've been canvassing for another party.
Right.
Do you think maybe some percentage of those persons would not see it as the party then, but they will be aligned to you? Put another way, do you think, as you said, you canvassed for the NRP over the years,
Right.
do you think that some of those voters may now cross over to you in the MRN?
Of course they will.
You think so?
I'm confident.
What made you think so?
Yeah, because I'm a daughter of the soil, and who else can represent them better than I?
You will be you will be able to persuade them
Yes.
not to vote for the party that you asked them to vote for before.
Right.
You think you'll be able to do that?
I think so.
Really?
Strongly.
Meaning then they probably have similar views as you have?
Well, they would have similar views, but I think the better man will tell it on election day or election night.
Okay, so here's the big question that I asked Mr. Keynes. He just did some adjustments to it, because he said when he was here the last time, I asked him and he fumbled. Here's the big question for you. There are now 3 candidates now declared for St. James.
Right.
Who is going to be the next representative?
Of course, Avenel Patricia Mills Jeffers. Without a doubt.
Is he right? Is she right, Mr. Keynes?
Well, I absolutely think that she's right, and I'm saying that now based on the feedback that we have gotten over the past several months. Of course, I understand what you're saying, Webbo, and I still hold to what I said initially, that I could not come out and make a categoric statement then that I will be the winner when you talked about St. John's, because I had not yet been out there.
Okay, well, let me ask you afresh.
Yes.
Who is going to win St. John's?
I'm confident that I'm going to take it home. In fact, let me say more. Based on the responses that I have been getting, based on the feedback, so overwhelming, it almost feels like it's as if it's 90% in the bag.
That's
the level of confidence.
If I were to ask Dr. Bartlett that same question, what do you think she will say?
Well, I absolutely do not know. I really do not know, because I do not know. I haven't talked with her. She's my ex-classmate as well. But we haven't talked about we haven't talked politics. We have not connected. So I do not know what she has done on the ground. I do not know what kind of feedback she has been getting from the people. She's from Brown Hill. I am from the adjacent village of Victoria Road and King Garden.
But it follows, doesn't it, that if you're getting such overwhelming response, that you have no doubt that you will win.
Yeah.
Well, Pat, you see where I'm going, right?
Yeah, I see where you're going, but I don't know. I still,
Pat, finish.
I still don't know what people are telling her. But if I base on what I am hearing out there when I interact with people, and I'm taking it at face value, so I don't know what she would say, but I feel like I'm romping home.
You chose to, which is good. You chose to give your teammate a light moment.
No. I as I said, Webbo, when I was here the last time when you asked me the question, I said I don't know because I had not yet been on the road. But having been on the road, such has been the feedback. I feel very confident. Things may change, but at this point, based on those responses that I've been getting on a per capita basis, I feel very, very confident.
Yes, Pat.
Mr. Herbert, my button here. Being on the road too and discussing, my candidacy with my villagers and so on, I've heard one or two people mention, well, Pat, they're gonna buy out in this next election again, so why you bother even try? I say, well, if people have money to give, they must give it.
And
it's when it. And take it too. It's when that individual goes into that
Polling
voting station that is the deciding factor. And once they see my name show up there, I'm the person that they're going to vote for, regardless of whether they get horse, land, car, who. I am convinced that people are going to be honest with themselves and put the X to my name. I feel confident about that.
That's an important point that you just brought up, which is part of the debate in the politics. And everybody always argues or accuse everybody else of doing it. And and nobody does it. You agree with that? Based on what based on what they say.
Yes, based on what they say. Exactly.
Right.
Well,
So it's almost like it's done, but it's Mr. Nobody.
Yes.
And I in talking to a fellow one day, he was a candidate, and he lost. So he was explaining to me why he lost, and he said to me that the other candidate bought out the people. He couldn't,
Yeah.
He went on to explain, because I'm a good listener. He went on to explain that what happened was that all through the campaign leading up, he kept taking care of the people. He will give them, X amount, what he has and so on, help them out. And then on election day, he calls up, let's say it's Sam. It's not Sam, but just using the name. So he calls up Sam and he says, Sam, don't forget to go and support, take care of me.
Yeah.
Sam says, well, I think you probably should bring X amount.
Yeah.
He says to Sam, but Lord, everything done. I don't give you in the weeks and so on and so forth.
Yes.
And Sam says, well, too bad. Because the other fella just brought X amount. And so he's cursing and saying that the other fellow bought out the election.
Well, Mr. Herbert, what I have to say to that?
So here's the logic.
Okay.
He did not realize what he told me.
Yeah, exactly.
That the other fellow was smarter than him. The other fellow saved up some for election day.
When it matters most.
Yeah, when it
the day
matters
of.
most. And he gave out all.
But
So
from the time you engage in that, then you're gonna be left with wanting, so to speak.
Yes.
Because why get into it? Everybody knows that is against the rules and against the law. You're
But
not
nobody can
supposed to
prove it.
bribe people to support you.
But nobody can prove it. That's the problem.
Yes, but I know people do it too, because I have relatives that they got money to vote and they do otherwise. You
Right,
understand?
right.
They tell me that, and I believe them.
So how do you get it out of the whole thing?
But I don't think you can get it out, Mr. Herbert. This will go on until such time. But what I feel is that if you're an honest and a direct and you are someone to your word, and people do have trust and in you and respect you for who you are, that is what counts. Because as the saying goes, like, respect is not gained, it is earned. And so no matter how much money people give people to vote, once they are into you, they will do the right thing.
So, and you know, or you do believe, because you've been around a while, sometimes people don't want to say the things on the record, but you do know that it happened.
Yes, of course. I know at least 4 instances or so.
So it does happen.
Yeah.
So, but and Mr. Keynes, you are saying, as the leader of the MRM, you are not in that game.
Oh, absolutely not.
So,
absolutely not. And if somebody were to actually make a substantial donation for that purpose, I would not be a part of it either.
You mean so you do not want anyone to donate to your campaign? That's what you're saying?
For that purpose, to buy votes? No, I don't believe in it.
Yeah,
I don't believe in paying people to vote.
They could contribute for campaign and so on.
Yeah, for campaign and so on, but not to pay individual, not to give individual an envelope of $2,000, vote for me. In a way, but I have been actually saying to people, I have not said to anybody out there, please vote for me. I have had politicians over the years who have come and say, please vote for me. And but why? I have not said that. I have said to people, please listen to my message. And I have repeated my message. Listen to the message, listen to my plans. And if it resonates with you, then kindly vote for it. If it doesn't resonate with you, then I respect your position. But just to say vote for me, you have to vote your conscience. You must accept the message. You must believe in it, right? And that's what I think you should vote for. Not vote for an envelope.
And you must have confidence in the person,
right,
that they will do the right thing.
So you go and you make your case.
Yeah.
You leave it all on the pitch. You make your case, and then if they vote for you, they vote for you.
Absolutely.
But based on what you're saying, though, when you're saying that you're getting the tremendous feedback, they're suggesting that they will vote for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Without you even asking them?
No, having explained my message.
Okay, you explain.
I engage people and I tell them, I explain my message. This is what my plans are, right? And the people are saying, absolutely, it sounds good. In addition to that, I do not like I am hearing from people that they do not like the existing political culture. I mean, I have heard it so many times, same old, you know. I mean, that has reverberated in my mind so much, same old. So the people are looking for something new.
Well, I asked Pat, and Pat did address it. Well, let me ask you directly then. Well, the party that you supported have said that they're a new version. You don't buy that either?
Well, they said that it's a new version. I know they have new people at the helm, in the sense that they have 4 ladies now. But I have not been following it that closely. I'm not on the inside. I really don't know. Don't know, so I can't speak to.
But what if somebody were to argue, well, why didn't you check it out, give it a try? Pat said she's not persuaded, she's not convinced.
No.
You're saying that you did not check it out.
No, but you see, the thing is, if you go back to where I was, the reason why I wanted to do this is because the political culture then, and I actually started, this thought was pioneered even before those ladies came on board with the NRP, right? My thing was the political culture throughout has been the same. When a party wins, the winner takes it all syndrome kicks in, where they look out for the people in their party, and that is what I disliked, and that was the main reason that drove me into this, because I felt that the party should be there for all divisions, those who are politically active and those who aren't active, because they vote and they pay taxes.
But let me ask you this. Different results and different outcomes happen. What if your party, you have 2 candidates now,
yeah,
you're hoping to field 5.
Yeah, absolutely.
What if you field 5 or you don't field 5? But what if you end up with 1 seat or 2 seats as MRM? Now that cannot form a government.
No.
The government takes 3 seats. Now, what would you do?
Well, if I win 1 seat, or party win 1 seat, you have to discuss the possibility of amalgamation. Of course, if any party gets 3 seats, they will form the government. But if it's a situation where no party has that controlling majority, and it's a 1 and a 2, then we have to discuss the possibility of an amalgamation or go back to the polls.
So you will wait until that happens. You would not put it and discuss it before, because when that happens, you got hours.
Right, you have hours, but I know at this point in time that I do entertain the thought of an amalgamation.
Okay, so
Right. But of course, all the conditions will have to be discussed then.
but here's the problem. You have a problem with the culture of both all the other existing parties, correct?
Yeah.
Would you amalgamate with them?
Well, you see, brother, these things will have to go to the table for discussion, because
But-
I am
but
not
those
pro.
things-
I am not pro isolating people and espousing that culture that existed before. And so, therefore, we'll have to have a discussion. Normally, that's how it happens. And if you can't come to an agreement, oftentimes you go back to the polls.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is that you have a difficulty with the political culture of the other parties. You feel that it's stagnant, it is not healthy for the advancement of the country and so on and so forth. You're saying that between one day and another, based on the results at the polls, you will now consider amalgamating in one of those same parties that you have a problem with their political culture. You
Yeah.
will.
But of course we'll have discussions and they can agree to change. You hear the premier say from time to time, you hear the premier say, even though I don't buy it, I've probably heard the premier say it about 5 times now. I don't listen to all of his shows, I listen to a lot, but I've heard him say about 5 times now that people in his party have approached him and tell him, boy, you're looking out too much for them NRP people. And he has to tell him, but they are citizens of this country. I don't buy it 100% though. Right? I think he's just basically trying to promote himself. But
So you don't believe him?
no, I don't believe him. Actions speak louder than words. Actions speak louder than words. Right? But he says it all the time. So at least if he's saying it, at least there is a decent thought in his head that is not being transferred to actual putting on the ground.
You don't believe him, but
No, actions speak louder than words. It
But
did yesterday and it still do today.
but the fact that he said it,
Yeah.
if the time comes and then he tells you I changed my mind, then you will.
Well, you see, you can say it, and then you will have to work towards maintaining it.
Okay.
Because we have seen Webbo in all these governments with all these amalgamations. They say things, and then they have debates because one person wants to pursue something different. You'll have to remind them, hey, this is the agreement that we made.
And I'll have to remind you that that is what you came to change.
Right.
Absolutely.
This is Thought That Gets Results. Patricia Jeffers is the candidate declared now for the Morals Restoration Movement Party. She is the candidate for St. James. With the incumbent is the Deputy Premier, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, and the other candidate for the NRP is Dr. Janice Hodge, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll take your phone calls on 1-869-469-1616 and 1700. I got to let you know that even before I offer to open up the lines, people want to talk. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
A very pleasant good evening, Webbo, and your table guest there. The gentleman who was just speaking before you take the break, Webbo. His name is Mr. Francis or whatever it is, right?
Mr. Keynes.
Yeah, Mr. Keynes, I'm sorry, Mr. Keynes. Good evening to Mr. Keynes and the ladies here.
Good evening. Good evening.
Evening, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Keynes, I find you to be a very, very extra special politician
Explain.
because a lot of things that the regular politicians have been doing and is still doing, and you feel, well then, that a lot of them are doing this, all of them are doing the same thing, but you would be so different that when it comes to money passing to get vote, you wouldn't do it.
No, it's wrong. I think it's morally wrong.
Yeah, okay, you think it is morally wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Well, don't you think all those who have been involved in it, they know it is morally wrong, but they still do it?
Well,
So my question is, what makes you so special? That money that everybody wants being offered to help to put you where you want to go, and you wouldn't do it. And then the next thing again, you said Mr. Brantley said that the government is for everybody, but you don't believe he mean it.
because actions speak louder than words.
So you're telling me now that his action is completely different to what he said he believed in?
Well, caller, we see what happens on the ground. We see what happens on the ground. I am in Nevis. We see what happens on the ground. We see the extent of the cronyism. We see it on the ground.
Yeah, but name them. Example them.
Well, I don't want to get into all of that tonight.
No.
But
This is talk that get results.
Jobs and
You can't come in here where you're supposed to talk that get results and then run and say you don't want to get into that.
But we see it with jobs, we see it with contracts, we see it with all the people who are selected, the bidding process or the lack thereof. We see it all the time.
You see it all the time?
Yes.
Well,
it
I want to tell you
happens.
something. With all due respect to you, you answer don't match up to what you are talking about.
Okay,
Because
in your opinion.
Look, I'm saying this. Since the CCM party is in the government, look at the many things that they have done to Nevis, and you won't say that you don't see it?
Now you mention them.
Oh,
You go ahead and mention them then.
To say them,
The many things. What are they?
that you will see it, and you see them.
But you just said the many things that they have done for Nevis. What? When the CCM campaign in 2007 to 2012, they talked about many things that they were going to do. But from the time they got into power until today, what have they done other than maintain status quo?
Welcome to you live Booby Island. Anyway, have a good night. Thanks for your engagement.
Okay, thank you. Our numbers are 1-869-469-1616 and 1700. Patricia Jeffers and Samuel Keynes of the Morals Restoration Movement. Your phone calls when we come back right after this.
Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. Builders Paradise has over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builders Paradise has what you need. Wow! Oh, and remember, we're open all day Saturday to serve you better. This is something that you can't refuse. Visit Builders Paradise today at the C.A. Paul Southwell Industrial Site in St. Kitts or call them at 466-4938.
With all the power from the tower, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio, from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
This is Thought That Get Results. Your phone calls on 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700 for Samuel Keynes and Patricia Jeffers of the Morals Restoration Movement. Good evening, thank you for holding.
It's a pleasant good evening to you, Webbo, and to your panelists.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I would like to ask Mr. Kane, if he gets in, where are he planning to get the money that he says he's going to build a hotel with this amount of room? Are he planning to go to the IMF? He don't have that money there to build this hotel there? Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Keynes, you
Yes.
just hold. Okay, I was going to take another caller and then you answer that question. So callers, please call 469-1616 and 1700. The caller has left, but go ahead, Keynes and Mr. Keynes, and answer that question.
Thanks for that question, caller. Now, there are lots of lending institutions out there, and all the hotels and other big businesses that you hear about, the owners went to lending institutions. And so, no, I do not have the money sitting down in a bank somewhere, right? But we will go to a lending institution. Because, you see, the thing is, caller, if you were around in the 80s, you know what the Nevis economy was like in the 80s. You know how it struggled. You know how it hemorrhaged. And then, once Four Seasons came in 1990, you saw the transformation. You saw the transformation. Massive transformation. We weren't getting much from St. Kitts, but Nevis was able to take care of itself from the huge revenue that was injected into the economy. And then the agricultural sector. I mean, every bit that was available to be sold was purchased by the hotel, and it wasn't even enough. So what we are saying here is that that's the way to go. But we should not wait for 30 years. CCM, Van Samuel, when he was premier, said he was going to build a hotel. But he was waiting on a developer to come in from overseas, for somebody to invest in it. It has not happened. So therefore, we have to take the bull by the horns, and we have to do it ourselves. Because we want to create employment. We want to create jobs for our people.
Right, so you think in that way you will get the money?
Of course.
That's what, okay.
Of course.
Good evening, thank you for holding.
Good night, Webber.
Yes.
And good night, Mr. Kane.
Good
And
evening,
good
sir.
night to the lady there.
Good night.
Now, lady especially, I like to hear you sounding good. You sound aggressive.
Oh, thank you.
All right. And I come in Nevis, come campaign for you.
Oh, wow.
Because when you come around, ladies, I like to help.
Oh, thanks for the support.
Not gents.
All right. Now, Mr. Kane,
Yes, sir.
now you is the leader of the party.
Yes, sir.
The party got a foundation, it got members, executive and all those things that could help build the party, and you got supporters that you could pick up a monthly stipend to help the party when election come around, that you all could get things done. Because you say you ain't believe in giving out the handout to nobody for vote, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I know sometimes that you trying to win a government, being a candidate for a constituency, sometimes you got to help somebody. Sometimes you got to go out there and help somebody. You understand? Sometimes you got to give. Sometimes you got to go buy a shop where these guys does lime, and you buy them a drink, and you interact with them, because that is how you're gonna get popular, and people gonna see the encouragement in you. Man, this man is a good man. Let me vote for him. You know, I believe that when he gonna do this and he gonna do that. So I believe that sometimes that we should. I'm against that the bribing part.
Good.
For people.
That's the word I was going to come to, but I won't use it again because you mentioned it for me.
Yeah, the bribing part, right? I'm against that, but who gonna know your bribe? Nobody gonna know your bribe. You're saying that, but nobody gonna execute that. Not.
What about my conscience, though? What about my conscience?
Your conscience?
Yes. My conscience will know that I engage in bribery. I will have it to live with.
When you come to a competition or anything, right? And you feel like you got the support, and the people them like they around you and they supporting you, and somebody come beg you, Mr. Kid's not gonna vote to you, man. Man, give me a little $150, man. Give me a little, I want a little help. You're not gonna help them? Eh?
You see, you're doing two different things at the same time. If somebody come and they have a case a very legitimate case where they need help, some social issues or so on. But you can probably see how you can help. But the issue is here.
Listen, they say go vote for you, you know.
Huh?
Mr. King, they're going to vote for you. I'm going to vote for you, you know. I'm going to vote for you, man. I want a little help, and you know.
No, it should not be in exchange for a vote, right? It should not be in exchange for a vote.
So if
there are people who I help.
You're going to tell him that. You're going to tell him that.
But I have been around a long time. I'm not a young boy. I've been around a long time, and I have helped people because I see a genuine case where help is required, right? But not in exchange for something. If I know that there is somebody who is in my area who I get along well with, but I know is not going to vote for me, but the person has a genuine need, I will donate to it, even if I know he's not going to vote for me. I will donate to it.
Anyway, let me finish up and then you
please.
put to the rest. Now, I just want to wish you and your party all the best.
Thank you.
Because we all are one, regardless to what, one individual, one petition. And if you consistently, even if you lose, you lose in the election coming up. I hope your party will consistently, you know, go and run in next election again. Because most of these parties come into election just to take where the other party vote. I see that now you think it.
Okay.
So anyway, I want to wish you all the best. And lady,
Yes.
as I tell you, I'm coming up on campaign for you.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Thank you. Thanks for your call.
Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Yes, Mr. Webber, I just want to make a little small contribution to the program. You know, as I lie and I listen to the last caller, he was saying, asking Mr. Keynes if the person come and said, I am going to vote for you. You know, if Mr. Keynes wouldn't give him a little something. But we have heard in the past, well, I wouldn't even say in the past, we have heard where people have bragged after a general election and said, I got this from this party or I got this from this politician and I did not vote for him or her. So that is something that people have to be very careful with.
Right.
Because I could say, you know what, I'm going to vote for Miss Jeffers. Miss Jeffers, you know, I would like $200. I'm going to vote for you. Miss Jeffers pull out $200 and she give me, and then when the election come, I vote against Miss Jeffers. So those are things people have to be very, very careful of, because I heard it in the past.
Yes.
People, you know, they brag and said, oh, this body give them this body give them that, because they tell them they're going to vote for them, and I didn't vote, you know, I vote for them, you know, I vote for Tom Jones.
Caller, if I may butt in here,
Yeah.
I will tell the prospective voters, if they give money or whatever they're given, they should take it. But when they go to vote in that room, they have to vote for the MRM. Because as you said, I've seen that happen a lot.
Right.
People spend endless of money, endless of dollars, thousands of dollars, and they still lose. You know?
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, because people have already made up their mind.
Right.
Regardless of the situation, they've already made up their mind. I'm going to vote for Mr. Keynes,
Right.
or Mr. Herbert, or whoever. And no matter what I get, I'll take it.
Exactly. And that,
Right.
you know, so that is why I said, you know, politicians, you know, they have to be very,
Careful.
very, very
True.
careful. Yeah. Thank you very much. I'm listening.
All right,
Thanks
thank
for your
you.
call.
Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening.
Yes, you're on the air.
I'm going to give it to your panel.
Good evening.
Good
I would just
evening.
like to ask Mr. King the question.
Sure.
He mentioned concerning like Four Seasons and then being at a hotel. Mr. Ame was say he was going to build. But in your case, if you have to come with the premier of Navy, are you going to treat those people just the same way you treat those people in Four Seasons back then? And you must remember, I think you say you're running in St. John's, but you treat some people good and then you treat some people bad. So which means, how you intend to move forward in this country, because people don't have for the things that you do in the past. Remember the Bible said, not throw children's blood to the swine, to the dog. So all this copper drink and food you throw in the garbage back then in Four Seasons. And now. And then the other thing, in 2007, a case come before you. And before you listen to the person that the case come again, you didn't listen to that person. You fired that person, and that person had to go and clear her claim. And when you define it, that the claim, the person was telling the truth, but that time you didn't give the person a chance to explain herself. You fire that person. So now, you know, the Bible says the past to come back the answers. So in a thing like this, I always thinking all about everything that you do before you come to go into politics. So I'd like to hear your question on that.
Stay on the line with me, though. Stay on the line with me. Don't hang up. Are you there?
The person have left.
Oh, dear. Caller, could you please call back? This has to be an engagement. This has to be an engagement. I would love to engage you. These people like to call and ask about Four Seasons and then disappear. They don't want to engage me. Just ask the question and then disappear. You know, I would really appreciate if you can call back so we can have we can have a dialogue. Because there are certain things you said I would like to ask you a few questions also. Next caller, Webbo.
Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Yeah, Mr. Webbo, good night.
Yes.
And to your panelists there.
Good evening.
Miss Jeffers, you said earlier, people must use the conscience. Now, me ain't supporting this bribing story. But it's like you're saying, if I give Tom a fridge to vote for me, he should come and vote for you. So what is that? Tom shouldn't use the conscience and work out that I give him a fridge.
Yeah, but listen.
Disrespect.
I believe that, in fact, as a matter of fact, you know that it's constitutionally wrong to bribe.
Yes, I agree. I said that earlier.
Yeah.
I tell you, I don't believe it.
But then this has happened, and a caller before mentioned that politicians have to be careful as to what they're saying that they're paying for. Because once people would have made up their minds, they would vote for whoever they want to vote for. No matter you could get a horse, land, car, island and all, a country and all, they're going to vote for who they want. And I feel, and as I said, and I'll say it again, people will vote their conscience. Whether you give me, so, I mean, if you give me this whole building here, and I don't want to come and work for you, I won't come and work for you, I'll take it and walk off. That's what that's in essence what I'm saying.
But you wouldn't encourage people to do that, though?
No, not at all. No, not at all. I wouldn't encourage people to do that. And everybody knows, and the electorate know that that is wrong. So if people do it and they vote for somebody else, well, the politicians have to blame themselves for giving away whatever they're giving away.
Mr. Ken.
Yes, sir.
What will convince you that you will be any different to the present couple of politicians we have here today? What would convince me that you will be so different?
Well, you know, it's interesting that you asked me that question, because somebody met me one day in town and said to me that every time a new party or a new person joins a new party, they come and they say certain things and then they do something differently. Well, it's just a matter of you now having to trust us, trust our word. And then there's going to be an election at some point. If we were to win and you're not convinced that we satisfied you, then you just have to vote us out. And that is what should happen. But I think we are going to be very true to our word. One person said that politics is dirty, and I said to him that the institution of politics is very honorable. I'll try to live my life by the golden rule, and I will do no different going into politics.
Well, Mr. Ken, at my age, I've been hearing that for years upon years. They are going to be different.
Yeah, but it would be unfair to take the same brush that you paint the others with and paint me with it too.
I am not. No disrespect, I am not convinced that any newcomer can come in and make a difference, because I just get corrupt. Thanks for hearing me.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Yes. So, Mr. Cairns, you based on what the callers are saying, you are not in favor. Let me take this first, accommodate this caller. Good evening, thank you for holding.
Yeah, what about me again? Now, Mr. Cairns.
Yes, sir.
I'm around long term in
in this country, the Federation, St. Kitts News. And I see many elections gone, right?
Yes.
And every time the election gone and the opposition lose, they cry for the cheat, the bribe people, the this, the that, the bribe people, they give you the money, they give this thing, they give that, they give that, they give the other.
Yeah, I heard that too.
I happen to witness for myself in under the 20 years of the farmer administration, all kind of thing went on, fridge, TV, this, that, lumber, blacks, all kind of thing given. And coming up to the 2015 election, when we win the 2015 election, when the Labour government lose, they give this, they give that, they give that, they give the other, in went to courts to carry ministers who win the seat, the candidate on the next side, carry the minister, so he bribe people and all these things. And these things go on all the time. So who perfect, who will, when it comes to these things? You understand? So we will all get these things, so no matter what people say, oh, they're going in with a clean slate and they're going this and they're going that. Listen, everybody got to be Christian. Everybody got to be Christian in the country. This thing stop.
Well, caller.
Everybody got to be consciously God-fearing people to this stop, Mr. James. I don't think you're going to stop.
Well, you know,
all right, then.
That's the brand of politics that they pursued, right? That is the brand of politics that they pursued. Everybody is guided by their own conscience, and I'm guided by mine.
So you're not
I totally agree with you that what they did is wrong, and I will not be pursuing that if I am...
No.
Sorry.
Yes,
sorry.
good evening. Thank you for holding.
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air. Could you go ahead?
Good evening. No, I've been around for long years, and I have heard every politician who come in here and run for election, they would always say they are for all the people.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay? And one of the things I have observed, sometimes maybe the politician himself, are not to be blamed for everything. Sometimes when the election is finished, you get persons to put in offices at the head, and sometimes they can be the biggest downfall to a politician.
That's very true.
I have seen that.
I've seen that too.
When some years ago, my daughter left school and she put in her application a number of places. And I could remember right out there, the administration building in the yard, I saw the gentleman who used to do with agriculture, because they were very good in science. And I think he applied there, and the permanent secretary then, at the time, when I approached the minister, he, instead of letting the minister deal with me, he himself said, did she went to sixth form? You know, and as Mr. Thing is saying, not everybody might go to sixth form, but everybody they might have had the CXC and whatever. Everybody deserves a chance. Everybody deserves a chance. My children, they have done fairly well. And I could remember they are being recommended for scholarship. And when I went, the gentleman in charge then said to me, oh, Mr. Woolard, you know, they are less fortunate. Now, this is nothing to do with less fortunate, because in those days, Mr. Woolard was paying a mortgage for his home. You understand? And Mr. Keynes, I wish you and Mr. Jeffers well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You all seem to have good intentions, right?
Thank
and I
you.
would hope this
these two islands of St. Kitts and Nevis, I'm Kittish and Nevisian. All my parents are Nevisian, my grandparents are Nevisian. I'm a Kittish and born by birth. And I will stay. But I live in Nevis because of Kittish and Nevisian. And so, you know, I would like politicians to be careful what they say. Because, and don't promise people anything. Don't promise people nothing. As Mr. Ting said, you send your message. It's like you're preaching the gospel to people where the Bible says repent. And if they get the message, if you repent, you shall be forgiven of your sins, and Christ he died for us, and he will take us to heaven. And so, I will wish you all well. I wish you all well. I wish everybody well.
Thank you very much.
But I have had some going.
Okay.
I'm growing up with my children, even my grandchildren right now.
Okay, caller.
God bless.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you for, very sorry, caller. We ask you to be patient with us. Good evening. Let's see. I'm very sorry. Let's see how this goes. Okay. Okay, callers, I'm asking you to be patient with us. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening to you and your panel.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes. You know, the position of Mr. Keynes' party is commendable. But Mr. Keynes realizes exactly what you're up against with this bribing and treating thing. Right? You've heard the callers.
Yes.
They're very cynical. And the idea seems to be, well, it's always been done, and this is the way it's done. This is politics as usual.
So it should just continue.
Like that.
Right.
Okay, in other words, it's endemic and pervasive. And some voters are so cynical now that money becomes an expectation.
Right.
It's like we're back to slavery again. I don't know how the politicians decide that $500 is enough for some people and 10,000 is enough for some other people, and house and land is what some other would need in order to get a vote. But however you look at it, it's like you're buying and selling people.
Right.
Right? Nobody, not one, would come out openly and say that is good for our democracy. Not one. And successive politicians say that they're going to take the money out of politics, have electoral and campaign financing reform, and it never happened. And the electorate do not hold them accountable.
Right.
Okay? Just like they ignore other good governance systems to hold them accountable. Right? So the question is, how is it stopped? In my opinion, it has to be stopped at the top. This is one time when a top-down approach will work. The leaders, the people at the top, people like yourself, who will have to say enough is enough and stop it. Right? Politicians want to give, some politicians want to give the impression that all politicians are the same. But they are not all the same.
They're not all the same.
Okay? No. And the only way to find out the honest one is to give them a chance. If they mess up, you change them.
Precisely. That was my point.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay? That's the only how it would happen.
Right.
Right? The problem, I think, though, with your party is that people don't feel, I don't think people would feel that you can make a dent into the two-party system that we have now. Okay? And so without that momentum going in, it will be difficult for you, I think, to win, even though you have the principal position, and even though your ideas and so on might be the better one, the current system is so entrenched that it doesn't really favor outsiders. But, you know, you got to keep at it, right? I don't think this current, unlike what a lot of people think, I don't think this current thing with the treating and the bribery is sustainable. We weren't always like that to this extent, right? And this thing about man going and buy a round of drinks for the boys and that kind of thing. That's nonsense.
Nonsense.
Exactly.
Total nonsense. And we must say that it is nonsense.
Absolutely.
Right? All the politicians have to come out and say it. All of civil society have to come out and say it. right? Otherwise, things will not change, right? So hopefully we get somebody at the top who is serious about this and eventually decides that enough is enough. I am going to do what is right. I'm going to have the campaign finance reform, take the money out of politics, right? And eventually, when the people see that they're serious, they won't be taking the fridge and the stove and no $500 or $100 or whatever it is.
Okay, caller.
And hence the name of our party, caller.
Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good night.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm listening here in St. Kitts, and the last caller hit 2 good points just now. 2 good points. And my point is that it's very hard, as the last caller said, for you to just come and beat those two who is in there with such a picture already painted.
But not impossible.
Okay, not impossible. Okay. So as I was saying, you know, to me, I see that you know will have to be there feeling in the slip, waiting for the batsman to hit the ball for you to catch it. So when you catch it now, you have a point, you're coming in now because the batsman failed. So there is where you stand a chance. Because you just cannot go in, as you said earlier, and try to outdo them. And the other point is the next point to bring in. Another point to bring. I don't bring the next point and say that was good, that was good. Yes. So you know you're coming in. You paint a picture. You see, you bring a picture to the public. This is my intention. Don't promise, oh, I'm going to give you this, I'm going to give you that. This is my intention. If I come leader or whatever, and this is my intention, what I will do for Nevis. But as I said earlier, you got to be consistent. Yes, man.
Okay. All right. Yes, thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you for holding. Good evening. You're on the air.
Yes, sir. Good evening. I've been listening to this program for about 20 minutes. But I would just like Mr. Keynes to tell me one thing. Tell me 3 things that the present government, which is the CCM party, has proposed in their manifesto that they have not fulfilled. And what is he going to do, or his party going to do, to fulfill those commitments?
All right. I haven't read that manifesto for a long time. I browsed through it when I saw one a long way back. But if I followed them very closely from 2007 in opposition campaigning. And what we are seeing today from the CCM government is completely different to what we heard. Now there is nothing tangible in terms of revenue generation that we have seen from the CCM government. What we have seen is more case of status quo maintenance. What was there before? Building roads.
So how the building road without revenue?
No, I'm talking well the thing is, Webbo, we know that local rates bring in revenue. Local rates bring in revenue.
Yeah, but
right?
But you argue they didn't generate you didn't see anything with revenue generation.
I'm talking about in addition to what was there. Local rates is always there. What you collect from electricity, what you collect from water. I'm talking about anything new
projects.
New projects that generate substantial revenue different to what was on the books when the last government was in power.
Okay.
That is what I'm talking about. And so between 2007 and 2013, what we heard, it sounded as if they got into power, we were going to have new projects. The Premier himself said, I mean, investors were out there on the horizon.
Yeah, but the CCM was not in power between 2007 and 2013.
That's what I'm talking about. During the campaign of 2007 to 2013, the things that they said they would do if elected.
Yeah,
what
but
they would bring to the country.
but they were not in. But it didn't get in, so they couldn't do it.
They got
correct?
it in 2013.
Right. So what I'm saying is, you said between 2007 and 2013.
What I'm saying, between 2007 and 2013, that was campaign.
The campaign,
period.
okay.
And they
So
said
from
all these
2013
things,
until
2000
now,
up to today.
since they've been okay.
What we have seen is just maintenance of status quo.
Okay. So, caller, you were making another point.
So maybe you can tell me the tangible things.
So what plans do you have in place for just those issues then?
Okay. Well, you did say, caller, fairness to you, you did say that you have been listening for the last 20 minutes. And you were not listening from the very start. And I presume that you were not listening the last time I was here either. But my thing is...
I've been following you weekly. Every time you're on.
Well, I haven't really been on weekly.
Okay, well, why don't we do it?
Let me get to the question.
Why don't we...
Every time that you're on.
Let me get to the question, your specific question.
Every time that you're on.
Okay, let me get to your specific question. Right? Now, the last time I was here, I mentioned that the ocean, that's a gold mine that we have not been prospecting. And I said that if elected, we are going to first introduce swimming in the schools, because we need to tap into that ocean. We see hotels in this country ordering so much fish from abroad. Amerijet comes into this country once and sometimes twice per week. And we need to tap into that and reduce our food import bill. And that is something I'm going to definitely do if I am elected. Now, Nevis has a lot of arable land sitting out there lying bare. But we need to help the farmers. We need to help those who are interested in farming. And I think that one of the things that the government can do, which I will do if elected, is to create plots, put in the necessary irrigation, put in the necessary monkey deterrent, and rent these for a reasonable fee for people, because the market is there. The market is there. I mean, the pandemic right now has impacted the hotels negatively, but we will get past that and everything will be returned to normalcy. But there is a market. I was in the hotel business for 28 years and I am aware. I'm sorry?
So you're saying the agriculture system as it is in Nevis right now, you haven't seen a difference in the past, let's say, 10, 15 years?
Negligible. Absolutely negligible. Not good enough. Because hotels are still importing a lot of their stuff. So the difference is negligible. I beg your pardon?
You have to take step by step.
Step by step?
How many years?
Of course.
But how many years have we been looking at? It is too slow. The progress is at a snail's pace. And we are still importing heavily. Our food import bill is too high. And that's my commitment. We need to reduce it.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm not living in Nevis right now, but I'm telling you, based on what I did, because I followed Nevis economic development over the years, and I think our agriculture have far passed most of our Eastern Caribbean countries.
Yeah.
Really? So you know what, with our food import bill being so high and the huge imports, the thing is, if you have not been living in Nevis, you said, but look at all the land, that's good arable land that's lying bare, that can be cultivated, and the hotels are still importing heavily. My thing is, we need to take that to a different level.
But that is being done presently.
At a snail's pace.
The last thing that came online is the Indian Castle project. I mean, I'm not living in Nevis. I visit Nevis maybe 3 times a year. I mean, because of the pandemic, I haven't been home for the past 2 years. But come on.
Come on. It's not done. Enough is not being done in that regard. That is the point. There's the come on. Enough is not being done in that regard. Okay, and we cannot be contented with just the mere crumbs from the table in that regard.
What's your plan going forward then?
I just mentioned it. There's a lot of arable land out there. There's a lot of people out there who are not employed. And so therefore, we need to take the initiative and prepare a lot of these lots to tell people here is a half acre of land. It's not enough. Prepare the lot, put in the necessary irrigation system. Let me finish. Put in the necessary monkey deterrents and provide them with a market. The government can do the purchasing from them, and then the government market it for them.
You have your finances in store. Where you gonna go to right now?
Caller, you're worrying about that? Why do you think we have all these lending institutions? Why do you think we have all these lending institutions?
Finances.
Of course you need finances, but that's why you have lending institutions. That's why you have lending institutions.
But okay, tell me you're going to go to a lending institution. Don't ask that then, come on. Finance is the number one thing right now.
Well, all countries do that. All countries do that. You have to. You have to go to lending institutions.
Okay.
Even to build a house, you have to go to a lending institution. That's the least of my worry.
Okay.
But that's the least?
Absolutely, because we will go to the lending institution, we will borrow, but we know, of course, we have to pay back, so we just have to manage our systems. Are you there still?
I'm still here,
Okay,
thank you.
all right, thank you. Good evening, thank you for holding.
Oh my goodness.
Good evening, you're on the air.
It's a pleasant good evening, Mr. Webbo. And for the panelists again.
Good evening.
Mr. K, I really like Mr. Kane, and he seems to get a do in government, because all the things that the plan that he's going to when he gets in, and if he only get 1 or 2 done out of the amount of your say, what are he going to say? It's only 5 years since he's in there, so he cannot get no more though.
You have surely learned from from those in the past, haven't you? That's what they have said. But seriously, you know, I remembered the former Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Kenny Anthony. About 3 years after he got into power, he had some challenges achieving some of what he had promised. And he came forward and he said to the people, he explained to the people why. I thought that was commendable, because it's rare that we find a government who made promises and do not deliver, come out and tell the people what challenges they are encountering, why they aren't able to deliver. And I thought that was commendable. And I remembered back in 1978, we had a premier for 1 year called C.A. Paul Southwell. And he used to have these programs called Report to the People every Tuesday night. And I absolutely believed in it, that if you're in power, you give people these reports, let them know what's happening. They are all part of we're all in this together. You promise you're going to deliver this, you're not achieving at the rate at which you hope you would have achieved. Give the people the feedback. Right, and that's what I will do. But I'm quite optimistic that we will be able to achieve what we set out to do when elected.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, thank you for holding. Good evening, you're on the air. Good evening, you're on the air.
Good evening, Webbo, Mr. Kane.
Good evening.
Big up, McCain, too. Yeah, I'm so agree with everything what you're saying. Right, I called in last adventure to explain about this agriculture thing, and one person said, "Oh, you don't cook. You talk about agriculture. What is that? That is the one that ain't needed. They drop the ball when we got to spend all the money. You know, when we could have keep it in here to do something else. Your point all right. And when you're expressing yourself, they put it to take it to another level and then knock you under your bed for politics. You see you're young, and you see it ahead of you, right? And if they do it the wise way, right, they will get it work. You have the land them down here, saying, you know, they just marking them up for sale. I call in and say, instead of got them for sale, put them into horticulture. The money what we wasting getting them young guys around about paying them for piece and pieces. Put them to work in agriculture and obviously money what? And put somebody over them that, supervisors so that they do the work. How we used to get these people in the field years ago when you had estate and stuff. Manager and overlook on all those things. You know what happened, Mr. K, is what I see. In these last days, everybody just looking for who bigger than who, looking for bigger things. Because, I could name out some things why it's still going on. When you talk, you say, because you ain't back in the go. You ain't like the government. Ain't like what government. You saying it to play. And, they think it is a joke. Because you're seeing it to play. You're seeing it right in front of you, as I say. And, like you can't touch it. And the guy you try to express yourself all right, you're bashing the government. They drop the ball with what they come with, whatever they say.
Okay.
2015 it changed now, last year again, whatever they say they're going to do, they change. I like how you bring up things you ain't seeing nothing rolling. But they ain't gonna, where the project them is, where the project them. People will want money, they will want work to pay the bills. So the project them. It's 500 that, sorry.
Okay. I think we got your point. Good evening. Thank you for holding. Good evening.
Webbo.
Yes.
This one is for you, Webbo.
Yes.
Whether if you're supporting a political party all your life, right? And this very good thing going on, right? And you supporting this political party, and the party, your party you were supporting was in opposition, and the party getting in government, where you're supporting now, and continue this bribing thing, right? You're supporting this party. Do you think if you was telling the party, if you was calling in or telling the party that is something wrong you're doing, don't you think that the bribing thing will not done stop? Everything will not done over? You understand? So this to say that some people coming on and talking this thing like this thing just start, and this thing just thing. But you see, some of them who talking, some of them was in the part of the bribing thing too, because some of them do a lot of things too to get people to vote for the party. That's why I said this not the country got to be hard to push them people in the country to this thing could stop happen. Nobody perfect. We are a human being. Nobody perfect. Even on the pulpit as a pastor, I show you how kind of thing will happen to some of them right now. You understand? You supporting a political party all the years. Now your party coming in government doing the same thing. You never won the command until the party you're wrong. But all at once now this thing will continue because this nobody that. All right, then I will listen to this.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Keynes?
Webbo, I heard him loud and clear. I heard him loud and clear. Webbo, I'd just like to say one other thing. When I was here the last time, there was somebody who called in and asked a question pertaining to Four Seasons and then hung up. And this time again, another person did it. So I would like to appeal to the people. If you want to have a conversation about Four Seasons, I am open for dialogue. I'm really open for dialogue. I was the HR director there for 18 years. And I'm open for dialogue. But please don't call and say things. I mean, this lady tonight said some very erroneous things. Please don't do that and then hang up. If you want to engage me in a dialogue, stay on the line and let's talk, please.
Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Yeah, good evening, Webbo again. Mr. Keynes and the lady there.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, two questions. One for the lady and then one for both of you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
How the lady said earlier, clock, that if somebody wants to pay you to bribe you, give you money to vote for them, take the money, but don't vote for them.
Yes.
Okay, do you believe that is right, miss?
No.
When I hang up, you could answer that.
Okay.
Because everyone has a conscience and you should vote your conscience.
Exactly.
Well, if you're not going to vote for the man, your conscience should tell you don't take the people money.
Exactly.
So, but I'll wait for your answer. But hear this one now. A caller, about 3 callers back, he come in and he had a lot of things to say and criticize about from the top come down. Well, I want to say this, Mr. Keynes and the lady. You both went to school, and everybody leave school and they want to go as high as they can with academical education. And if you, both of you, apply for a job to work in Webbo radio station, and Webbo accept you all, the application has been approved, and the work is yours, would you all not show up to work for months in Webbo station, but every month then you go and put out your hand, go and get your pay, and you collect the money? Do you all think that is right?
Of course not.
And if it is not right, what do you call that? Fraud or robbery? Well, I know somebody did it down here in St. Kitts, and they have a lot of chat what the government should do and what the government not to do, and they have more ideas than all the ideas give us in the world now, after 20 years. So I will listen out the ear for you all answer toward those questions that I asked. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The answer to your question, if I think it's right for politicians to give people money and they should take it and then vote for somebody else, I think that is absolutely wrong. That's what I'm saying. But, you know, humankind, it's money and it's whatever, and, you know, they will take it, but I am not for that. They should not do that. But if they are going to take it, they should vote their conscience regardless. That's it, Sam.
I personally feel that when somebody offers you money to vote for them without sitting down with you and explaining the message and let you analyze the message, they are disrespecting you. It's disrespect. And I can't do that. And that's the reason why I am saying to people, I have not said to one person, please vote for me. Just like that. No. I explain my message, and I say if the message resonates with you, I really appreciate if you vote for it.
But you're
if
not
it
asking
doesn't,
them to vote for you.
But if it doesn't resonate with you, and you don't want to vote for it, I respect that.
Good evening. Thank you for holding. Good evening. You're on the air.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead.
I just want to say good evening.
Good evening. We are hearing you loud and clear.
Caller, you have to listen, please, to your telephone and not, you know, the radio or anything else, okay? You're on the air. Could you go ahead?
Okay. I just want to say to Mr. Keynes, I work under Mr. Keynes for many years at Four Seasons, and he's a very good man. And I just want to congratulate him. And to Pat, my friend, go girl. I know you can make it. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
I really appreciate that,
Me too.
because there is somebody who understands. Because you see, Webbo, and I feel so sorry for some of the people who say some of the things, because people on the outside who never worked there, so many of them do not even know that not one person at Four Seasons can fire an employee other than the general manager. Nobody. You can make a recommendation, but nobody can fire an employee but the general manager, and nobody can hire an employee but the general manager. Of course, you can make a recommendation that somebody get hired, but it cannot happen unless the general manager approves it. So when these people are calling in and saying things like that, it is just so sad. And that's why I'm saying, do not call, make those points and disappear. If you want to engage me in a dialogue, I am willing to talk. I'm willing to discuss with you. But don't just call and say those erroneous things and then hang up the phone.
Okay. Here's what we got. We got a couple minutes left. So why don't we wrap up, beginning with Ms. Jeffers and then finishing up with Mr. Keynes.
Again, Webbo, I'd like to thank you for inviting us and inviting me in particular to announce my candidacy for St. James. And I would like to thank the listeners as well as the callers for engaging in our discussion. And to you, the electorate, especially in St. James and St. John's at the moment, and I'm sure we're going to be bringing more candidates. We want to thank you in advance for supporting the MRM movement. Now that we've discussed and we've laid the cards on the table as to what we are about in running the next government as per the next election, we would be looking forward to all the support that we can get to do so. And I want to thank you in advance, and I will be coming around to the various villages in person and explaining further what our motives are with regards to motives and intentions are with regards to the next coming election.
And finally, the last word, Mr. Keynes.
Webbo, I'd like to say thanks very much to all the people who I have spoken to on the road, and those who I have engaged on the phone as well. I'd like to thank them for lending me an ear and listening to my message, and being as receptive as they have been. I like to tell all the others out there in the community, I'll be coming around, I'll be talking with you, I'll be explaining the plans for the party, but we are very, very serious, we are highly encouraged, and we are very serious in terms of what our plans are if elected. And please, whatever happened in the past with other previous governments, unfortunately, we will not be like that, and whatever we promise, we will deliver. But we will always be dialoguing with you. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Samuel Keynes, Patricia Jeffers, the Morals Restoration Movement. We thank them very much for being with us this evening. We thank you for listening. This program repeats tomorrow at 10 o'clock following the VON News Minute. Join the Honorable Mark Brantley tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock for On the Mark. Thank you all again for joining us. This is your voice in the community, thought that get results. You all have a wonderful evening.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants.